welcome into another edition of Russell Street Huddle. The Russell Street Huddle is where I get to sit down with our valuable customers and talk a little bit about the Ravens and get their take on the Ravens. And this week, we're being joined by Jason Gray from D&L Professional Tinting. Jason, welcome into the huddle. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Happy belated New Year, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, you too. You too.
Okay. So
crazy 2022 already.
I know, right? So the Ravens had an up and down season. Started off being a season during which they received or were victims of a number of injuries, Jason. And it started out that way with Lamar even having COVID to start training camp. And you had Rashad Bateman miss a lot of valuable practice time in the first 5 games of the season. Of course, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Marcus Peters all go down with ACL injuries. Ronnie Stanley plays 1 game, 50% of himself against the Raiders, and it just kept all trickling downhill from there. To be at 8-3, despite all of that, you had to be pretty proud of the team, but it all fell apart, losing 6 in a row to finish 8-9 and out of the playoffs. So looking back on this crazy season, what are some of your big takeaways?
I mean, I thought that the team showed some real fight. I mean, for a lot of the injuries that we had, I mean, most teams wouldn't have probably. I mean, at one point, I remember that being talked about possibly being one of the best teams in the AFC. You know, I think after the Denver game, if I remember, hearing talks of us being one of the best teams in the AFC. So with all those injuries, I mean, I think it's a testament to some of the coaching.
Yeah, I would agree. And if we could look back on the season and change 2 things about the way things played out, would you change players? Would you change coaches? Would you change playing style?
I mean, I don't know. I've really thought about this one, and I mean, I don't know if I would change too much. I mean, injuries happen. I mean, and I feel like just that took a lot of, especially out of the defense. I mean, near the end of the season, the secondary was pretty depleted. We've had a couple of friends and I have had some debates over like the games where Harbaugh went for 2, and I kind of understood a little bit more of why he made those decisions now, kind of looking back on it compared to those when I was watching those games, thinking like, oh, I would just go for at least getting to overtime, but now kind of thinking back, he kind of knew what kind of team he had. So he was going for the win when he had it.
Yeah, I think when you look at some of those games and you realize that even he knew that they had a JV defense out there and they just couldn't hold. And I think as fans, we're all used to, if the Ravens get a lead in the 4th quarter, it's all over. Yeah. Those days are gone. They need to get back to those days. So looking back, staying with the retrospective look, when you look back, what was your biggest surprise and biggest disappointment?
Biggest surprise. I'd say, I mean, I was surprised that they got to 8-3. I mean, I really thought that it was going to be a struggle, and you had all those injuries in preseason, so the fact that we were even going into the last game still had a shot if things fell the right way to be in the playoffs was, pretty cool. I mean, a pretty big surprise for me, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Disappointment. I mean, just, the injuries, I guess, would be the biggest disappointment. I mean, I would have liked to have seen what the team could have done healthy,
See, for me, the biggest disappointment was that they never really got an accurate read on Lamar Jackson as
yes.
I mean, he showed early on that he was getting it done, but as this offensive line continued to crumble, they just didn't have any time. They started blitzing them like crazy. They didn't have an answer for it. And so now I feel like with his injuries and with his illness, that he missed some time, that they still are at the same place entering 2022 that they were 2021 with Lamar.
Yeah. I have my neighbor actually. He makes the arguments of why the Ravens shouldn't sign him. You know, but I don't agree with him. But he breaks it down in a real philosophical way. So it makes you think sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, if he plays the way he's capable of playing and they surround him with the kind of talent that they can do this offseason,
Yeah.
then you're not really worried about it. You've got a
Yeah.
franchise generational kind of talent, but
Exactly.
it's just that we wanted to remove those questions in 2021, and unfortunately, they're still there.
Yes, they are. They are still there.
So speaking of questions, I had a couple of questions about your business. You've been a long-standing customer of Russell Street Reports, and we certainly appreciate that. But I think that, it's good to have you on a show like this, The Huddle, and just trying to give our listeners and viewers an idea of the kinds of products and services that you offer that maybe they might not be aware of. Now, why don't you just talk a little bit about D&L Tinting, what your claim to fame is, and then we'll get into some of the nuances of your business.
We're obviously known most for automobile window tinting. We probably do more automobile window tinting than most shops around the country. It's kind of just always been our bread and butter. But we do kind of branched off into some different things. But we try to keep the things that we work on, lying within the same like installation principles. So you don't have like a guy working on your window tint one day and then installing rims the next day. He's going to be working on materials that are relatively installed under the same kind of principles.
And you guys do some interesting things too with the tinting. Not only do you do some interesting things with automotive vehicles, but you also do things at home and with businesses to try to increase energy efficiency for homes and businesses. But before we get to that, I just want to remind our viewing audience that you guys do something that I think kind of falls under the radar, and you tint windows in a way that provide protection for young children.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, you can go with any a film here. Even if you don't want the car to look tinted, you can go with a film that's pretty much, almost clear and still get protection from the UV rays and from any kind of broken glass situation where it'll help, broken glass kind of lock in place.
Now, this tinting has applicability, as I said, to home and office. In the summertime, you can keep out those damaging rays from the sun and the heat and keep your interior cool, and vice versa. In the wintertime, you kind of keep out the elements so that your energy efficiency is at the maximum, and you can also, energize and heat your home or office in a more efficient way.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there's the residential and commercial film lines. The technology has come so far in there's so many different options available. That do an array of different things. It's really pretty crazy, the technology, that you wouldn't think it would just be like, how light or how dark do I want it? But there's really so many more things that come into it. It's definitely gives people just so many choices on, how they want to possibly cool, or even get privacy in a home or in a business.
And you have some, calculations that you guys do to figure out what the payback is for some of these. Like if there's, I don't know off the top of my head what the investment would be, let's say, to, line each of the windows in your home, but on an average size home. But if somebody does that, the payback's pretty rapid.
Yeah, it is pretty rapid. And you can get, with the fact that there's so many different films available, we can typically find a film, that'll, pretty much meet any price point. You can get films that are that very, very expensive. 3M makes some films that do a lot of crazy different things, or you can even go with a film that's maybe a little bit more basic, but still is going to block 99% of the UV rays. It's going to help, carpet and wood flooring from fading. If the sun's coming in the window in the same spot all the time, you can very much see that it'll, discolor the flooring, pretty quickly. And that right there, just having a simple window film, doesn't make the window look any different necessarily, but it's going to protect you from that.
And when you do that, you're not inhibiting the view, because
Exactly.
of different films that allow that.
Exactly. Yes. You can inhibit the view. That's not impossible, but there's so many films out there that when we put them on, you wouldn't even know that they were on the house, so unless you actually, were telling someone, yeah, I got my windows done, a friend or a relative that's over the house might not even know that you did the home windows.
So you could possibly do one window to block the view of a neighbor you don't like, and another one that enhances the beauty of the scenery.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
So another, before I leave the window tinting, I did want to come back to the automotive. What are the range of prices? Like what's a typical or average buy, and what's a really off the chart buy?
So, I mean, most four-door vehicles we can get done for around $200.
Okay.
And the film has a lifetime warranty. So for as long as you own the car, if the film bubbles up, if it peels, that's the biggest thing you would want to have, as far as a warranty goes, is the peeling, especially for any kind of, window that rolls up and down. If you have a window that's peeling, you have your paperwork with us, your receipts. You can come in 5 years, after you got it done, and we're going to pull it in and fix it right away for you. So that's the biggest thing I think with a lot of the films that we offer, is that they have the lifetime warranty.
Another interesting thing I think you guys do is these wraps, where
yes,
you can maybe have your car fully wrapped, a truck fully wrapped, promoting your business so that you become an automotive billboard, if you will. And you can do that in, like, you don't have to do the whole vehicle. You can do the windows, you could do partials. Talk about that a little bit, and the expense that those goes along with it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, even when we first got into the wrapping business ourselves, we were under the impression, just being new to it, that the best thing to do would be to wrap our full vehicles. So we were doing full vehicle wraps on our own company vehicles. And then it wasn't long after getting into it that we realized that we could, that people get about, on average about 8 seconds, 9 seconds or so to see the car. So you can do a partial wrap, hit, just kind of hit on those important things like your business name, a phone number, or a website, and kind of get the gist out there, get people to come to your website or give you a call, and then kind of go from there. You don't have to put a whole lot of flash on it. So that can really cut the cost down. A lot of, and we said in the beginning when I was first doing them, really recommending the full wrap, you could save $1,500 going with a partial wrap. So full wrap, you're typically around probably around average price around $3,000. And then I can get a partial one done for, anywhere from about 12 to 1,500.
That's a really interesting way of promoting business, and it's always out there. It's like,
Yep.
We're out there all the time talking to customers like you, saying the more your name's out there, the better off you're going to be, because you want that recognizability. So that certainly helps a long, long way to get that done. So Jason, thanks for joining us today on Russell Street Huddle, and let our listeners and viewers know how they can reach you.
Then just give us go to our website, dltinting.com, and kind of go from there. We have 2 locations, one in White Marsh, one in Parkville.
All right. So thanks for joining us here on the Russell Street Huddle.
Thank you.